Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran a story that occurred between Musa and Khidr alayhi salam. And this occurs in Surah Al-Kahf, and it is a surah that many of us read frequently, especially on Friday. And it is a story that has a lot of benefits and a lot of wisdom for us. And there's only one time in the whole Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala references Khidr, even though the reference is indirect, but not by name, but by story. And Khidr alayhi salam, we learn from our tradition that Khidr was a prophet of Allah. That Khidr was a prophet of Allah. And this is in contrast to what some people believe, which is superstitious belief, to be honest, that Khidr is some type of superhuman, that he's flying around, he's still alive. No, all of this is fairy tales. Khidr was a prophet, and Musa was a prophet. And the two of them were sent to two different people, but at the same time on earth. And we learn in Surah Al-Kahf that one time, our Prophet ﷺ told us that Musa alayhi salam spoke and gave a khutbah to the people. And someone asked him, "Oh Musa, who's the most knowledgeable person on earth? Who's the greatest person of knowledge?" And so Musa assumed that he was the most knowledgeable. And honestly, why would he not assume? Allah has spoken to him directly. He is one of the greatest prophets, ulul azmi min ar-rusul. He has the largest ummah that humanity has ever seen up until his time. Our ummah is larger, but up until his time it was the largest ummah. Allah Azza wa Jal chose him, spoke to him directly, Mount Tur Sinai. Why shouldn't he assume? So he made an assumption, and he said, "I am the most knowledgeable." Immediately Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Jibreel down and said to him, "Oh Musa, how could you speak without knowledge? How could you say something you didn't know? You just made an assumption. You can't just speak about the religion like this. You can't speak about ilm al-ghayb. Verily, there is a servant of ours, abdan min ibadina. We have given him knowledge that you do not have. He has some knowledge you don't have. How can you make this claim that you are the most knowledgeable?" So immediately Musa alayhi salam humbled himself and he said, "Oh Allah, give me permission to go meet this person. Allow me to go study with him." And this shows us his humility and humbleness. That being who he was, he had no qualms, instantaneously lowering himself for the sake of knowledge. And such is the case. We accept the truth from anyone. We learn and study from any person who has more knowledge than us, no matter what their ethnicity, no matter what their age, no matter what their background. When a person is a person of knowledge, instantaneously we humble ourselves in front of their knowledge, as Musa alayhi salam demonstrated. So he asked Allah permission. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, "Go and meet him in such and such a place." And these are the characteristics, and the story mentions when you will meet him when the fish disappears. The story of Surah Al-Kahf mentions. So eventually Musa meets Khidr. And he asks Khidr, and he says to Khidr, "Let me follow you so that I can learn some of your knowledge. Let me gain some of this knowledge." Khidr says, "إِنَّكَ لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا." You won't have patience to be with me. You don't have enough patience to be with me. Musa says, "Give me a try. سَتَجِدُنِي إِنْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ صَابِرًا." Give me a try, I'll listen to you. So Khidr says, "I only have one condition. If you accompany me, don't ask me what I'm doing until I tell you. Don't interfere. Don't get involved. It's not your job. I have a mission. I'm going to do it. You mind your own business until I tell you and I explain to you. Until I do that, you're not allowed to ask and question." So Musa says, "Okay, we will do that. Not a problem." Then they find a ship. And this ship belonged to some poor fishermen. And they needed to come across the side. They wanted to go across and get to the other side. And they said to the people of the ship, they said to the fishermen, "Will you carry us and Allah Azza wa Jalla will reward you? We don't have any money, we don't have any, can you just carry us, get to the other side, and Allah Azza wa Jalla will bless you." So the fishermen were generous. They said, "No problem, come with us. We'll take you to the other side." When they were busy casting their nets and fishing, Khidr comes down into the hull of the ship, pulls out an axe, and he cracks the hull of the ship just enough to let the water in so that they could make it to safety without drowning. Just enough so that the water begins to flood, they make it to safety to drowning. And as the fishermen are confused, what happened? Where did this water come from? In the confusion, Musa and Khidr just disappear. Musa says to Khidr, "How could you have done this to these people when they were so generous to us? They gave us for free, they gave us a lift and a ride. Why did you do this to them?" And Khidr says, "Didn't I tell you, you don't have patience?" Musa says, "I forgot." And he genuinely forgot. He says, "La tu'akhidni bima nasitu." Okay, I forgot. This is a genuine mistake. And when you make a genuine mistake, you're supposed to overlook it. لا تؤاخذني بما نسيت. Don't give me a tough time because I forgot. You're right, I made a mistake, I won't do it again. Barely has he finished this sentence, and the axe is still fresh with the wounds of the hull. And now they come across some kids playing on the shore. And Khidr takes one of them and eliminates one. Musa has not forgotten. He has just said, I'm not going to do it again. He knows exactly what the condition is. But the taking of a life is a very big deal. Especially the life of an innocent, especially the life of a young child. Musa, knowing full well what the condition was, became so angry. How could you have taken an innocent life? And this shows us, by the way, that Khidr was a prophet. Because nobody on earth has the right to be judge, jury, executioner, except for someone whom Allah Azza wa Jal has told directly, and this means a prophet. No one can use this excuse, say, oh, Allah told me to do it, unless they're a prophet. Khidr was a prophet, and Musa was a prophet. So Khidr does the deed, Musa becomes irritated. Khidr says to him, look, didn't I just tell you? You see for yourself, you don't have enough patience. And Musa did not forget, he doesn't have an excuse, so he has only one thing to say. He says, okay, you know what, you're right, but I ask for one more chance. Basically 3 strikes and I'm out. One more chance, allow me. Our Prophet ﷺ said, may Allah have mercy on Musa. Had he not been hasty and put that condition on himself, he would have seen many amazing things. Had he not been hasty, he was hasty. He wanted to show, okay, you're right. Had he not been hasty, and our Prophet ﷺ said, hastiness is from shaitan. And he said, thinking and acting calmly is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hastiness is from shaitan, being very quick to act. Just acting impulsively, this is not from the characteristics of the believer. And acting thoughtfully, and acting with much patience in what you're doing, this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Musa became irritated. He said, you know what, one more time, khalas, I'll leave you. You won, basically. So the two of them, they make their way to a village. They're tired, they're hungry. Notice, by the way, they're both prophets. Subhanallah, they have no money because they're not interested in this dunya. Their pockets are not overflowing with gold and silver. They didn't have money to pay the fishermen. Now they're hungry, night has fallen, they don't have money for food. And it was the custom of the time, the custom of the world, and this is our Islamic custom as well to this day, that when a stranger comes to your town and village, that stranger has the right for some basic hospitality, basic bread and a cup of water. This is fard, kifaya, that the community has to take care of a stranger that has no other means. You're not going to let a person starve. And this was the culture of that time. This was how it worked. This was how everything worked. Everybody understood this. This city or this town was so miserly and stingy, they refused to share a cup of water and a loaf of bread with these strangers. I mean, the height of stinginess. They refused to be the least bit hospitable. And in fact, they mocked them, they pelted them, they got rid of them, said, get out of here, go, shoo, go away. And these are the greatest prophets together, and the community treats them in this manner. And so as they walk out, and you can imagine, Musa was one who had a temper. You can imagine how he's feeling. Frustrated, tired, hungry. And on top of this rude treatment, Khidr stops and he repairs the wall of the town. Every town had a wall for safety. He repairs the wall of the town. And Musa, again, he didn't forget. He knows full well, but his irritation got the better of him. Musa says, the least you could have done is to get some food for what you have done. You have made this wall perfectly fine. The least you could have done, لَاتَّخَذْتَ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا. Get some money, get some ajr, get some food, get something for us that they have treated us in this manner, and instead you are hospitable back to them. So Khidr says to him, your condition was 3 strikes and you're out. This is it. هَذَا فِرَاقُ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنِكَ. Khalas, we're going to go our separate ways. This was your condition. I didn't say this. You said it, so be it. As you said, it shall be done. هَذَا فِرَاقُ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنِكَ. سَأُنَبِّئُكَ بِتَأْوِيلِ مَا لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ عَلَيْهِ صَبْرًا. Now I shall tell you what you had no patience to understand. And in this stories, by the way, there is extreme relevance for every single one of us sitting here. Every one of these stories, they are stories that we come across in different ways, in different formats, but the same musibahs afflict all of us. The same trials happen to all of us. So let us understand some of the wisdoms that those trials Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down. As for the safina, as for the ship, Khidr says it belonged to a group of poor people, poor fishermen, poor people, and there was a tyrannical king that was confiscating every single usable ship. So there must have been a war going on. He wants some ships for his navy. So he doesn't care. He just goes and confiscates everybody's ship. And so by putting this hole in the ship, the king comes, he finds the ship is not in service. He simply overlooks it and confiscates everybody else's ship. By putting that damage in the ship, I in fact saved the ship for the masakin. Notice as well here, brothers and sisters, that the masakin, we're not told much details about them, the poor people. But we learn one thing, they were generous. After all, they let people ride for free. And so, what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do? They showed their generosity through the ship. Allah preserved the vehicle of their generosity. That which you're generous with, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will preserve for you.